So, Mr. Solomon, why did you move to Kenya?
I came to Kenya after I started in Tanzania. Tanzania was my first country in Africa. And I was there for 5 weeks and I met some Kenyan women that were on my show and they told me you would love Nairobi. You should visit Nairobi. And I was going to go to Madagascar or Mozambique after Tanzania. But they had influenced me so much and pumped my head up. So I came to Nairobi. And the minute I got off the plane, I instantly loved it. The minute I got in the city and I saw how the people were dressed, I saw the people were very social and friendly. The women were beautiful. The food was amazing. The music was a vibe. You know, it was very modern compared to where I came from in Tanzania. Tanzania still had a lot of dirt roads in a lot of places. But if you come here, it's very modern. And if you're an American, it's not going to be that much of a culture shock. So it was being around a bunch of, if I could say, civilized black people. Let's say it, right? So then I went to you. I still, I try places and I like them, but I still go to other places. And even if I do like a place, I still experiment. That's why I've been doing a lot of jumping around because I would have never found Nairobi if I would have been a guy that just stays in one place when he likes it and doesn't try anything else. So I went to Uganda, went to Rwanda, and then I came back here. And then I went to Zambia, and I came back here. And I went to Ghana and Senegal, and then I came back here. And then I went to Thailand, and I came back here. Then I went around to all four continents, went around the world. I went to Europe. I went to Eastern Europe. I went to Western Europe. I went through just about all of South America, and I went back to North America, the United States. And what it did was I got a second trip going back to my first love, which was Brazil and South America in general. And I figured out, damn, okay, I really do like it, but I would always compare, how did I feel when I was in Nairobi? Would I have dealt with this in Nairobi? There were certain aspects of things like racism that I started to notice in other parts of the world. And I'm like, oh, that really wasn't an issue when I was in Kenya, obviously for a reason, because who's going to be, I mean, maybe if we're talking about some other foreigner from another continent, maybe so, but I don't think a Kenyan has any possibility to be racist towards another black. It just doesn't happen. But if you're in somewhere like Brazil, that does happen. If you're in somewhere like Uruguay, that does happen. Those both places I love, but it still is what it is. So whenever I started weighing my pros and cons of each individual place, this place was the best place. And where, yes, it has cons. It's nowhere as perfect. People aren't perfect anywhere in the world. But the pros are so great that the cons are almost invisible.
So, tell me about the fears and challenges you had to overcome to make this move.
Honestly, I'm not. When I moved here, which is now, I have already been traveling around the world, so I didn't have any real fears. Not really worried about nothing. It's not an unsafe place. I'm not worried about any political disaster going on here. I know some people are worried about protests. I've been in Kenya during several protests. I'm a wholehearted believer that if you only will experience those if you go to those. Like they're not, this isn't some movie where they're coming into a neighborhood like this, jumping over buildings with P90s and spears or whatever you want to call it. This isn't Scarface. This isn't, that type of stuff is not happening. Wherever that movie is where they had the hotel, that's not happening. It's just protests. I mean, we had the same thing happen in the States with Donald Trump. That happened. That happens all the time with George Floyd. So we look at, and I heard Nomad Capitalist saying this earlier, we look at stuff that goes on in like the United States and we're like, oh, it's just another protest. But if it happens in Kenya or if it happens in Brazil, we think that country is about to turn to shit. And it's the same thing. So I didn't have any real fears. But if I was a first time traveler, I had never been out of the country, I would say maybe a fear would be, it's even hard for me to think of why you would be scared to come here, but maybe people would think that, oh, I'm going to get scammed. When honestly, if you ask me personally, out of the 7 African countries I've been to, I think Kenyans are probably going to be the most trustworthy out of all 7 countries I've been to. There may be another country, but I haven't been there yet. And you can get scammed in Africa, yes, just by trying to buy land or eat at a restaurant. But that bullshit that you deal with in Africa is at a minute level when you come to Nairobi.
What would you say would be the benefits of living in Kenya, quality of life?
Number one, we're going to talk about food. I ate at Village Market Mall and I ate some tacos out of a restaurant that wasn't even Mexican. This isn't Mexico, and those were some of the best tacos, if not the best tacos. No, they weren't the best, but they were some of the best. They were better than they were supposed to be. We've been eating, I know you like leg of lamb. We've been eating that all the time. We ate that yesterday. All the food is very fresh and organic. You can tell that it hasn't been destroyed by all these chemicals that we put in the United States and designed for you to just stay hungry. You actually eat and you're done. You don't need, there's no processing that makes you want to eat, and then look like how some of y'all do in the States where y'all 400 and 500 pounds. Now, to say that the food is only, we ate, we really just, that restaurant we just ate at today, where we had calamari, leg of lamb, and like a, what was it, a chocolate cake you had? Mm-hmm. All that together was like $30 for both of us. For both of us. So it's relatively cheap to be here, and I know it's cheap. Some people like to say, "Oh, Turkey is cheap." I call bullshit on that. Mm-hmm. Portugal is cheap. I call, if you're referring to Europe, is cheap. On a worldwide scale, it's not cheap. I call bullshit on that too. Now, these prices would be similar to a place like Brazil, but this is Brazil without the danger. You know, this is Brazil without the racism. You know, it's certain things that I just, in South America, that I couldn't see myself permanently dealing with, and that's why I'm here.
What would you say would be the practical tips for moving, steps to move?
Actually, let me go back to that question you asked. Here's another benefit of being here. The second part is the people, okay? Everybody's friendly. Like you said, we went and hung out at a club last night. There was no tension.
None.
It doesn't feel like you feel like you can literally speak to anybody when you're in Nairobi. The other countries I've been to, there's some place where it feels like you could speak to most people, but not everybody. This is everybody you feel like you could speak to. I don't think I've ever had a scenario where I felt like there was nobody there was somebody in Nairobi that I couldn't approach and ask for directions. You know, so we call that peace of mind. When life is about people, and if you can get along with the people around you, you have a peace of mind. The reason why the people in the United States don't have a peace of mind is because y'all can't get along with each other. Men and women and women, just as a whole society, people generally don't get along there. And this is a great place to get away from that. And like I said, safety also adds to the peace of mind. I've walked around late at night, 3 a.m. Now, there may be one part of the city, 2 or 3 parts of the city you shouldn't do that in. Honestly, the only parts of town where it's going to be dangerous, you wouldn't even be over there in the first place. You know, it's like saying like, oh, I don't want to move to Dallas because crime happens in Oak Cliff. Well, why the hell would you be in Oak Cliff? Unless if that's all you can afford. And most of y'all watching them are Americans, so I know y'all can afford $500 a month rent. This place that I'm at right here behind me is $850 a month. $850 a month. You can't hear anything but these birds chirping around. And there's a gate to get in here, and there's a gate to get into the neighborhood. And I have to call to let the gate, whatever you call them, the security guard know, even though they've seen your face. Every time you come over here, I have to call to let them know that you're coming, even though they recognize you. It's annoying as hell, but when I think about it, it's worth it. You don't have to worry about it. You can go jogging back here. Don't worry, there's no lions or nothing running around the city like some of y'all think Africa is like. There's no lions and cheetahs going to track you down when you want to go jog. You can exercise just like you would in the United States without getting robbed. You know, you could probably jog through Dallas and get robbed. That's not going to happen here.
What would you say would be the cultural challenges of the average American who would be interested in your material on YouTube will have trying to migrate to Kenya?
One thing that Americans have is we have a strong sense of not understanding that everything does not work the same way it does in the United States. In East Africa, or I guess I should say the Swahili countries, they have this thing called Swahili time, where somebody's supposed to be somewhere at 5 o'clock, they'll show up at 9 p.m. Now, I said in Nairobi, that's very minute. Maybe it'll be 5:30, But based off how the city looks, I base the culture off the development, right? When you go to a place and they're super corrupt, I'm kind of getting off topic, and they're super corrupt or they're very lazy and slow at everything, the country also looks like a shithole because they don't get anything done. That's why Nairobi doesn't look like a shithole, because stuff works. But everything does not work the same way that it would in the States. I just can't tell you what those things are because most things that I need in the States are here. But outside of that, like I said before, this is the least of a culture shock that I've gotten in Africa. Like, I don't see... Maybe you'll be shocked at how friendly people are. Maybe that's the culture shock. You're in more of a collectivist society versus individualistic.
On that note, what would you say would be the practical tips for moving to Kenya and common mistakes to avoid?
Number one, you need to book a consultation. You do. Because if you're planning to stay for longer than 1 month, I would not go with booking.com or Airbnb. I would get let me say, if you're staying 3 months or more, I would go get a lease, because I don't know if you pay month to month rental is probably not good. You're not going to save too much money. So 2 months, but 3 months, usually they allow you to sign a lease. So if I was to stay here for 3 months or more, I would sign a lease like I did at this place for the rest of the year. And I would book a consultation and ask the questions that fit your needs. Are you looking to party all the time? Because maybe you want to stay more towards Westlands area. Or are you looking for, like where I'm at right now, where it's quiet, I'm far away from Westlands, but it's a little more... This is like more of a family-oriented place, and I stay back here because there's too many distractions in Nairobi. If you want to come to a city where you won't get shit done, this is the city. You won't get shit done here because there's so many activities, so many parties, so many malls, so many women, so many friends, so many other expats. You can't get nothing. You have to have discipline, so make sure you keep that in mind.
On that note, what would you say would be your main focus of integrating into Kenyan society? Can someone do it? And if so, how would they go about doing
that? Learn Swahili. I don't know Swahili. Honestly, being in Kenya, I know that they would love it if you learn Swahili. But it's one of those scenarios where I'm like, I could learn it, but I don't have to because y'all speak English just as good as I do. Now, when I was in Brazil, yeah, that English, you might as well forget about that. You need to learn Portuguese. But here, if you guys are looking to go somewhere where you don't need to learn English and you can still integrate and get along and understand the people just as much, because people love to say that y'all aren't really understanding the people if you don't know the language, which I could agree. If you're somewhere in Latin America or in Vietnam, I could get that because they don't speak English. They weren't colonized by the English either. But here is a place that used to be a British colony, and they speak better English than the other British colonies for some reason. I don't know why, but they speak better English. So it's just like moving to a very black version of America without the bullshit.
Would you say one would need to learn the language to either adapt to the culture or build a network?
No, I don't think so. Because it's very easy to bump into high society Kenyans, and the expats generally here aren't assholes, so they will introduce you to the right people as well. So I have the biggest network in the world here in Nairobi.
Tell us about how you went about building a network.
Luckily for me, it was YouTube. So when I touch down in the city, people reach out to me. I heard you're in town. Let me introduce you to this person. Let's hang out here. But honestly, this is what goes into why I said book a consultation, because you need boots on the ground experience with somebody that is there, that knows people. For example, like my tailor now because you know me, because I have boots on the ground.
That's right. So
it's important that you network with somebody that is already with an established network there, which is me. I have an established network here. Troy is I don't know what would you call it, but he's the guy that does all the entertainment. Somebody may be coming here looking to start a club, but he would be the guy for that. if you want to open up a club, he would be the guy that you need to host it, host a party there. You only can get that with a network, but the first step is to come here. Don't think you're going to build a network off of Tinder and Bumble, or you need to actually be here and be in these places. And the good thing about building a network is you can find Kenyans that are doing very well for themselves, and it won't cost you a lot. For example, if you want to go to a 5-star restaurant in Kenya, in the United States, you probably spend $200 by yourself. When here, that'd be more like $40, and you'll be around a different tax bracket of people,
Would you say your journey to building a network helped you to adapt to the culture? And if so, tell us about it.
Did it help me adapt to the culture? Kind of slightly. I mean, with the culture question, it's just because I don't really feel too much of a shock here. Or maybe it's just my personal values, the way how I look at life and the things I desire out of life. They just have it here. So it wasn't really hard for me to integrate. I have a certain way that I look at life and things and values and morals that I stand for. And the United States wasn't that place for me. So when I go places, I'm looking at where do I feel like I fit in. And this was the best place that I fit in. And they speak English. So I don't really feel like I had to integrate in the culture too much.
Tell us about how your services can help people adapt and come into Kenya the right way.
So what I provide is consultation services and basically a tour guide service. So first we would start off with a consultation at the booking link in the description in the first pinned comment, and you will speak with my assistant and he will see what you want, and then we'll get on a consultation call with me, and from there we will organize a trip if you are looking to come to Kenya. Some people this might not be for everybody. That's why I say do the consultation call, and I will break it down, figure out who exactly you are and does this fit you. Because if Rwanda fits you, if you like Rwanda, if you like Rwanda or Ghana, I can tell you for sure Nairobi, Kenya is not the same vibe, and it's not going to be the place for you. So we get on a consultation call. My goal is to figure out, do I even want you to waste your time coming here? Because this isn't for everybody. I don't know who wouldn't like this, but some people don't like this, especially people. If you're trying to get away from black people, this is not the place for you, because you're not going to get away from them. So we'll get on a consultation call and we'll talk about what your expectations are. And then we'll set up a trip where you will meet me in person. I will hang around. I will show you around to a thing like a safari, the Nairobi National Park Safari, something like that. I will organize a few parties for you. We'll have our tailor come through and he will create outfits for you so you can look just as good as I am now, thanks to him. And we will organize even a trip to Mombasa, which is the coast, if you have that much time to stay. It all depends on how much time you have to stay as well. That's why everybody's service will be different.
Absolutely. And on that note, I'd like to say, Austin, thank you for giving me the advice to come out to Kenya, because I don't want to leave.
Absolutely.
And my man Nalfi,
Yo.
you've been hearing Austin talk about his journey through Kenya.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you think of his journey?
Since we met through Troy, that was like a year ago. Seeing his transition from that time to where he is now, I think it's something amazing to see, and what he's doing to, I wouldn't want to say market, just putting a spotlight to things which really matter, and like his trips, what he has been through, his experiences show that, and I appreciate him for that. So, Austin, keep doing what you're doing, and it's amazing what you're doing. So,
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.